We welcome you all on behalf of the Binocular Vision Clinic of Shankar Netralaya. We wholeheartedly welcome all the attendees who are present with us today. So, so for those of you who are here with us today, as we go through this webinar, please feel free to use the Q&A or the chat box. So if you want to ask any specific questions, either regarding the webinar or regarding the practitioner series program that we are going to release today, you can ask in the Q&A. If you just want to interact with other participants, and during my presentation I would ask you to really post comments. Okay, so I'll say please type in yes or please type in go ahead. So whenever I say that, you can use the chat box and just sort of type in your answers there. Okay, so please feel free to use the Q&A as well as the chat box. So I think respecting everybody who's joined on time, uh, let's go and start the session. So just let me know if the slide is clear, if you're able to see my slides. Thank you. Thank you everybody for your time first of all. Okay. Thanks guys. Okay. So we are super happy to be actually doing this inaugural session of our Shankar Netralaya's Netra Vidya's Binocular Vision Practitioner Series. Okay, but I'm not going to speak binocular vision today. Today is going to be a sort of, I don't know what to call this. I don't want to call this a motivational talk, because I'm not an expert in that, but rather I look at this as an opportunity to interact with you at a much more personal level, and then sort of be able to help you discover your soul's purpose. I know it's a really big word and sounding quite woo, but maybe you know what I mean by the end of this talk, and sort of let you clear your mind a little bit. Okay, because of the current timings that we are in. Okay, though the title is to the optometry class of 2020 from here to where, it applies to everybody who are at the level of your early career, whether you are in optometry or outside in optometry in any other streams, because what I'm going to speak today is very generic to all of us. Okay, and some of you might ask, okay, I know Rizwana as a binocular vision person, but how Rizwana is doing doing a sort of not motivational talk, but talk like this, because just letting you know that I am a qualified Euro-linguistic programming practitioner as well. Just did the certification during lockdown and have always been very passionate about coaching and mentoring from, for a very long period. And so I've done my coaching and mentoring certification as well. So these are some of the these trainings actually triggered my interest to talk to people at a much more deeper level than just speaking subject. Okay, so the very first survey, I request all of you to sort of open up menti.com and then type in that code. Okay, or use your mobile to scan this QR code. This is the only survey that I'm going to run using a different platform for a specific reason. So please go ahead to menti.com and then type in 2224765. Okay, and once you do that, you will get the question, and then we'll start with the presentation. So as people are joining in, you are using the code, and then you are start of. How are you feeling during these times was the question. And let all of us see these sort of emotions coming up. Okay, so that is the main reason why we are doing the talk today. So if you really see, good is standing in the center, and then there's some excited, happy, relaxed, energetic. But if you also see this, see the side panels, okay, then there are people who are really authentically telling what they are feeling. Okay, uh, they're telling in things like, I'm wasting time, I'm not feeling good, and then I'm scared, I'm stressed, no job, I'm depressed, I'm confused, frustrated. So of course, so these are all things that we are feeling in. and then that is what is coming up in this word cloud. Okay. But of course, good continues to stay in the center, uh, because that's the power of good. So, okay, so I'm going to start the countdown so that there's 1 more minute for the voting to close. And then once the voting closes, uh, I'll just start from these emotions and continue with the presentation. Okay. Yeah. So this is the word cloud. And then so there's mixed emotions coming up. Okay. So people want to come back strongly. Let's just see how this whole feelings and emotions turn towards the end of this presentation. Okay. Okay. So first I'm going to give you a little bit history about about why I am doing this presentation today. Okay. Which is basically, I think you must have heard about Yuval Noah Harari, author of Sapiens, Homo Deus, and 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. So he's a sort of a not just inspirational author, but a visionary author rather. So one day I was listening to his interview during the lockdown, and then his talk triggered me so much that my mind was sort of surging up with ideas. Okay. And it also gave a perspective shift to my mind. After listening to this particular author, I felt as if, we really need a change of thinking, in the way we really see things, be it the COVID pandemic or whatever it is. So I said, okay, why not I share this thought with freshers, especially, and also people at the very early stage of their career, because this is going to really help you. And that's how it started. Okay. So now what I want you to do is just put a thumbs up if you're ready, or whatever icons that you can type in the chat box, and just put it, okay, in the chat box, so that what we're going to do right now is we're going to set our intentions. Okay. We are going to set our intentions for the next 45 minutes. So just if you want, you can close your eyes. Otherwise, you can keep your eyes open, but have a soft look, and just feel as if your feet is flat on the floor and your spine erect, and feel as if you're connected to both Mother Earth, as well as a sort of connection to the heaven or the sky above. So what are we doing through this practice is basically we are just setting our intention so that we receive information from the universe, and as well we are able to stay grounded, uh, and connected to Mother Earth. Okay, because this sort of a grounding is very, very important when we listen to certain things which are quite uncomfortable. Okay, because when I'm going to speak over the next 30 minutes, some of you might feel a little bit uncomfortable. I'll tell you why you will feel that, because I'm doing it purposefully, I'll tell you. But staying connected with the universe and Mother Earth is going to help us take this information, in a very, very positive way. Okay. And then say these words out loud or silently to yourself. So I'm going to just tell these words and you say these words. I am enough. Okay. Just say to yourself, I am enough. I am all perfect. Okay. I have everything that I need within me. And when you say this, a part of your mind will resist. Okay, that's the monkey mind. It will tell you, no, you are not enough. No, you are not adequate. No, you don't have everything. You have so many flaws. Okay, but just let the monkey mind keep silent for a while. Okay, just say this: I am enough. I am all perfect, and I have everything that I need within me. Okay, just say these words maybe a couple of times, and set your intentions that over the next 45 minutes, let the universe give you the guidance that you need, the guidance that you are looking for, the reason why you are present here with us, and the reason why you have given your valuable time with us. Okay, so with that intention, just say, let's do this. Okay, so type in the chat box. There are 192 people, plus about 10, 12 panelists. So I think please type in the chat box, say, let's do this. Okay, I need like overwhelming response. So I'm going to just keep quiet for like 10 seconds and then say, let's do this. Yes, 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 yes. That's the energy. That's the energy that we need to create. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Let's do this. Boom, somebody says. I love that energy. Yes, yes, yes. Here we go. Yeah. So use whatever positive words that you want to use, but just say, let's do this. Let's do this. Yeah. Yes, guys, that's the energy that I want from all of you. So I will be asking you to do similar things, though it might sound crazy, but you'll understand the purpose. Yes, yes, yes. So keep typing in, okay? Okay. So we know that the COVID pandemic hit in when none of us were expecting it to happen. Some of us did, were sort of feeling something is coming through, but it came in at a time when many of you were about to graduate. Some of you had just established your practice. Some of you were looking to pursue your masters. Some of you were about to complete your masters. Some of you were just, feeling happy with the way your IK practice was going in, and then boom, this pandemic came in. And this quote is so lovely. Just look at it. Many people say there is calm before the storm, there's calm after the storm, but it is more powerful. Just look at it. Look at this. Sometimes there is no time to wait for the sea to calm down. If you have to reach your target, let your voyage start and let the storm be your path. Because this is just one storm. We don't know how many storms are ahead of us. And that is one main reason why I want to address all of you to just build up what I call the resilience muscle to face any storm. Okay, so after this after this webinar, if you get 1% confidence that yes, I will be able to sort of voyage through this storm, then I think we have achieved our purpose. Okay, so with the same energy, what happened when the COVID hit us? Okay, first first it was complete shock, and then there were too many webinars, okay, too many classes. There was information coming in from all directions. Maybe for the first 2 weeks none of us knew what we were doing, but then it came from all directions. It hit us from all directions. Everybody was talking, everybody was trying to offer educational lectures. And what happened, actually, this is what happened. We were really not sure if the brain became big because it was about to explode in confusion, or it was getting bigger from knowledge. But there was definitely a lot of overwhelm that was happening. And what happened because of that? Because of this overwhelm, we just sort of shifted our attention towards entertainment, and then we started to binge watch serials and soaps and whatever that were pending, and whatever that came on our way. Okay, now this is a vicious cycle. Of course, like, we feel so overwhelmed with the things that were coming our way. Sometimes we really didn't know what to do. It happened. So whatever I'm going to speak now is my own personal experience as well. Okay, so we were all clueless. Okay, and then there was this vicious cycle: loss of focus, loss of productivity. This is very, very dangerous, especially at a stage when we haven't laid our foundation. Okay, so I'm talking to really freshers who haven't laid your foundation yet. You are just looking at what you want to do in life. And I have done this very much. Okay, like, I didn't know what to do. So I'm going to give you a lot of personal examples so that you can correlate with this. Okay, so say yes if you are in the boat with me, that the overwhelm was too strong, and then we ended up binge watching or oversleeping, and then we really didn't know what to do. Okay, so if such a sort of overwhelm hit you hard, like as it hit me and many others, just type in yes. Okay, so let's just sail in the same boat and see what happens. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of yes and double yes and triple yes are all coming in. Okay, yeah, so I can totally understand you. Okay, why this happens? Okay, why does this happen? Because it's a very, very unprecedented event, but in general life sort of gives us such lessons throughout. But why does this happen? It happens because we lack clarity. Okay, we were really not sure what we wanted to do, so we were lacking clarity. We were lacking motivation. So motivation is, no, we are looking for somebody to come over and tell us that, yeah, you have to do this is good for you. Okay, so many a times we were looking for validation from outside. Okay, and the second thing, which is motivation from inside, which is called inspiration. Okay, because if you really know what your compass is, then that's called inspiration. So we never had, or we were lacking even inspiration, and our environment was also not conducive. Even if you feel, else comes and sort of dumps their energy onto you, and the environment became very toxic. And there was not lack of, there was lack of trigger. Like when we go to workplace or college, there would be somebody who tells us, okay, do this, do that, but the trigger was absent now. And then there were too many choices, because everybody was offering something, and so we were completely like clueless as what to do. And that is why we landed up with such frustration. And so the first poll that I want to launch is this, okay? Just answer, how many of you have a goal or thought about a goal? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the results um, for everybody to know. So 80% of us definitely have thought about a goal or have a goal, okay? And 15% of us are still not sure about what this is all about, and 3% us, we have not thought about a goal. Okay, so why am I asking this question? So this is the whole purpose of my talk. What I'm going to do over the next 30 minutes is just talk about these 4 key concepts, which I think are fundamental and instrumental in being able to set a goal. Okay, so as I told before, this is not a motivational talk. This is going to bring out the shadow side of your own self. It can instigate some pain, but this is a good pain, a pain that will open up, and it will serve as a doorway to a purpose. Okay, so I am really sure that you're all ready. But as I move along with talk, there will be lots of writing work for you. So please have a pen and a paper, okay? And then we are going to do a lot of writing work uh, for the next 30 minutes, okay? But these are the 4 things I'm going to just drive you through: the aspects of self mastery, values that guide this, importance of mentoring, and through all this, how you can create your unique blueprint and path, how you can set a path for your own self. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Get set and go. Okay, what is this number? Type in the chat box. What do you think this number is all about? Okay, so I some number that says 72,000. What do you think this number is all about? Just type in the chat box. Whatever that comes to your mind, just type in. Feel free to interact, because I really want all of you to interact. Okay, what this number stands for? What do you think this 72,000 means? Okay, somebody says number of unemployed, number of seconds per day, COVID cases in Tamil Nadu per week, hours of lockdown, thoughts per minute, number of movie cases in COVID cases in India. Okay, time seconds, your aspiration daily salary. Oh wow. Okay, salary per month. Okay, think big. No, when you said salary, I said think big. Don't think just small numbers like this. Okay. Okay, number of maybe blink rate. Of course, if you blink 72, okay, maybe you're counting the minutes to whatever. Okay, I think some of you got it right. It's the number of thoughts per day. Okay, so the number of thoughts that bumble human mind, the average is about 30 to 40,000, but the total number of it can go up to 72,000 thoughts. And you know what? 80% of them are negative or nonsense thoughts. 80% of these thoughts are unnecessary thoughts. It only sorts of takes you to that rabbit hole down below. Okay. So keep a watch on your thoughts. The moment you keep a watch, then you will know what I'm telling is the truth. Okay. So that is the reason why self mastery is so very important, because to be the master of your own self is to fully understand you are your own teacher. You are your own inner guiding light, which means you have everything. As I told at the very beginning of this talk, we were setting intentions through a meditation, and we were telling him, I have all that I need within my own self. And that is 200% true. Okay, you are your own inner guiding light. And that means you have to take full responsibility for your own life. Mastery means not control. Mastery means, I'm not telling you to control this, control that, control the thought. Don't control anything. First, let go of the thought of controlling something or somebody. Mastery means just realizing the fact that you are the universe and everything you is flowing harmoniously towards creating the best version of your own self. Or to put it very simply, it's all about just becoming aware of who you truly are, okay, and what your inner calling is. So we'll do some simple exercises to understand this philosophical term. But self mastery means first understanding who you truly are, because unless you know who you are, you can't manage anybody else. When we say leadership, 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 unless leaders manage themselves effectively, they others. Okay, so the first thing is effectively leading yourself. Okay, and that's what I mean by mastering yourself is true power. The second thing is setting your compass. What does that mean? Okay, many of us spend our lives towards something. Okay, we go join for a job, we work for 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, and then we are still very unhappy, and then we look at the assume that this job is the wall, and you have this ladder, and this is not the wall that you were really looking at. The ladder is completely leaning against the wrong wall. Okay, so many times when you really set your compass, like this is where I want to go, like the GPS system in your mobile, if you put a wrong direction, wrong destiny, or a wrong address, it's going to take you wherever you have put in. Unless you are clear about where you want to go, now who are you, who can you blame for setting your compass wrong? So many a times we put the ladder against the wrong wall. So what really happens when you do that? When you do that, because you are not clear of your dreams and goals, somebody will take advantage of that and you will end up working really hard for that somebody. Because you are a person who works hard, you are a person who are dedicated, who are committed. But then your ladder is leaning against the wrong wall, and so you end up working very, very hard. But that's not the wall you were destined for. So have big dreams and goals first. First, be very, very clear about what your goal is. How do we do through a vision statement? So the next question is this, which is, how many of you have written a vision statement for your life? Of course, you must have seen in organizations a vision statement, a mission statement. Be very authentic, be very honest. I will help you write your vision statement. If you're truly honest, you will get your vision statement at least half ready by the end of this lecture. Okay, so be very, very honest, very, very open, because you're here for a reason. You're here to discover at least, some part of your soul's desire. So how many of you have written a vision statement for your life? Wherever you are, whichever you are in your career, you need a vision statement. That is the compass. So that compass is going to tell you whether you are led right wall or the wrong wall. And it's never too late. We can always take the ladder and put it against the right wall. So don't get disheartened. It's just one step, but it's never too late to do that. And that's what we're trying to do today. Awesome. I'm really happy with the way everybody is participating. Almost 80% have contributed to the voting. And so I'm going to share these results for everybody to really know. So 19% of the audience here today with us have written a vision statement. 28% have not written. 28% have started, but in how I was until about, say, maybe 5 years back. And 25% was not aware of this concept, like how I was about 7 years back. Okay, so this is a very powerful thing that we are going to do today. And let's now move to writing our vision statement. First, vision statement. Okay. Vision statement is basically an inspiring statement. That's all. I'll show you some examples. An inspiring statement that depicts your life in the future. So when you look at your life, say 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or if you're too much a visionary, you can even look 50 years from now. And if you want to live to 100, then you can even look 70 years, 80 years from now. Okay. How do you see yourself in that future? That's what is a personal vision statement. I'll show you. And then along with it comes what we call as a mission statement. What does this mean? It's a brief, powerful statement that inspires and guides you on your path. Nothing but the strategies that you will put to achieve the vision. For example, to become a billionaire or zillionaire, okay? That's what is your vision statement. Of course, that's not a real vision statement though, but I'm just giving you a dramatic example. If the vision statement says that to become a multi-billionaire or zillionaire in 2030, your mission statement then would be, to become the CEO of a multinational company that would pay you, say, like 10 crores a month or so, right? So basically, mission statement is the strategy that you need to adopt to achieve your vision. So I'll show you some example. This is Google's vision statement and mission statement. So what does Google say? Google's vision statement is to provide access to the world's information in one click. Just, just count the number of words, okay? Count the number of words. How many words they have? It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In just 10 words, Google has its vision statement. It says to provide access to the world's information in one click. And what is the mission? How do they want to achieve this? They want to world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And that is how they want to achieve this vision. Let's do one more. This is my favorite. Okay, this is what led me to write my own vision and mission statement. Maya Angelou, the famous author, she says, my mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. How stylish is this, right? I'll show you one more. All our favorite, like the Mac, the famous Apple Steve Jobs mission statement. What does it say? To challenge the status quo, to think differently. And that is what they're doing. They are continuing to revolutionize the whole gadget market with the innovations that are coming, that they're bringing in through. Whatever COVID or any pandemic is not going to affect their market. Maybe it will just halt for a while and then it will pick up in the same speed, because they have a very clear purpose and a why as what they want to do in life, right? So if you're interested to know my vision mission, just type in yes. Okay, I'll show you mine. Okay, so why do we actually have to write it? Because you're going to write now. Okay, 76% success rate is there for those who write this down. Okay, so if you want to go and join that 76% rather than the 43, anything less than 50% to me is a failure. Okay, because 50-50 is always that monkey. Don't join the 43%. Now write your goals down. I'll just give you some keywords. Okay, so just take your pen and paper. It should be, just think big. It's like your bold future reality. Okay, think, I would say, begin with the end in mind. How do you see yourself 10 years from now? Or if you can't imagine 10 years, imagine 5 years from now. How do you see yourself? Okay, and it should be so big that you should feel that it's impossible to achieve. Okay, you should feel that it is impossible to achieve. That's how big it should be. Okay, because you need to dream big and you need to write it down now, and make sure that the statement is very precise. Just it should be very easy to understand. Don't use big jargons, no complex English, nothing. Maximum up to like 10 to 14 words, like how Google's vision statement was. Just write in short words. Okay, now, and share it in the chat box. If whoever want to share your vision statement in the chat box, just go ahead and type it in the chat box, because vision statement that is, first write it on the book. Okay, and then type it in the chat box. This is the very first thing that is important. Now this is not written in stone. Okay, so this is like the exercise that we are trying to give you. After this webinar is over, think and refine that statement, modify that statement. And this is not a one time statement. 2 years from now, the statement will become much bigger. It will just take a different level. It will take you through a different level of transformation. I'm telling this from my own experience. After I wrote my vision statement, I have now changed it almost like 3 times in the past 3 years. And I'm really so inspired to just see that every morning when I wake up, or when I feel so depressed, I look at that vision statement, and then I'm like, okay, now you have to wake up, you have to move, move from this place. Okay, that's how the vision statement is. And mission statement, take your time to write, because it needs to be strategic. You should think of the potential strategies to achieve that vision, but you will figure out as we move through this presentation. Okay, now the reason why you are writing your vision statement is to make sure that your uh, ladder is leaning against the right wall. I don't want your ladder to lean against the wrong wall. So please write your vision statement. I think some of so don't say I want to be like so and so. You are very unique. Okay, so you guys are very unique. And right, yeah, see, look at that. Some bold vision statements are coming in, and I will show my vision statements. Very you will think like, so this is how I actually have just took photo of my journal. So my vision statement is, just read the first 2 lines: to explore, experience, and evolve as the best version of myself on a day-to-day basis. That's all my vision statement is. It's not very big. I just want to keep exploring life. I want to do new things, and I want to become better day by day. That's all is my vision statement. And what do I think I can achieve that? I can achieve that by being instrumental in creating a revolution in teaching and training binocular vision, because that's my passion. To be able to serve the needy and deserving towards upliftment of life through education, because I love teaching. I love not just teaching subject, but giving this, and to be a source of inspiration to those who seek for hope. Okay, so to those who really want hope, I can be a source of inspiration, at least through ways that I can. So this is my mission and my vision and mission statement. So vision is how you would love your life to be, and your mission is how you want to contribute to this world. Now please go ahead and share. And I love this Simon Sinek's quote. Okay, the power. Simon Sinek is the author. I mean, many of you must have known him, the one who wrote The Power of Why. So basically, it's vision is the destination, okay, and mission is the strategy or the route. And I really want to see some. Uh, okay, I love that. Make the world see better. Awesome. Okay, vision statement: looking for opportunities to expand my responsibilities within this role to work towards my goal. Awesome, Nisha. So just keep typing in, guys. I really want to see a couple of vision mission statements, so that I'll show you something very inspirational now. As if you are able to figure out your vision, then what you can really achieve through that. Okay, so please type in some more vision mission statements. Just type at least vision statement, just that 8 to 10 words, as how you see your life 10 years from now. What is the magnanimous, bigger version, higher version of yourself looking like? What is that big dream of your own self? Okay, I'll give you some clues. Okay, that's awesome. To be a successful independent woman, kudos to you, Manasi. To treat retina patients with alternative medicine. Awesome. Just type in, guys, just type in, because the moment you vocalize IAS, yes, Sony, we are all giving you big high five. The moment you vocalize, the moment you write, you are giving to be a happy and joyful girl. Yeah, let's all give a round of thumbs up to Saliha. Be the light to touch people's life. Very touching, Aishu. I want to see myself happy every morning when I get up. Very powerful. Transform life to make it lovable for themselves. Awesome, Kim. To love life and be loved. Awesome, Arnab. Okay, so my audio is low, I guess. Okay, so I'm just going to shout a little bit more. Hope this is okay, Rem. So just type in if you're able to hear me clearly. Continuously acquire knowledge to bring optometry to next level. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so for the exactly this is how powerful the vision, a vision statement, a good woman. Yes. So now that you're really thinking for yourself, this is the starting point. As I told you, whatever you have typed in here is not the final vision statement. Now that you have started to think, tomorrow morning when you get up, your vision statement will look so beautiful. I assure you right now. Okay, but keep refining this statement as and when you get inspiration. Keep refining this statement. So as I told you, this is my fourth vision statement. It looked a little different like than this before, but now it's just, I want to experience and explore things. Okay. And one suggestion I would give you is move from thinking what can I get to how can I give. Okay, don't think what can I get from this world. Take away the thought and think how can I give. All the vision statements that you guys have put in, it's all so powerful. Okay, because you're all thinking how you can contribute to the community, how you can serve the community, and that is what is so inspiring for me. Okay, so think from a contribution based approach. Okay. Okay, so this girl, you must have read about this girl. I think she graduated from Bosch and Lomb School in 2016, and she has become the youngest person to complete a PhD in optometry and vision science at 25. Okay, because we are all an optometry community here, I want to show this example how Sunila Dampala was able to achieve this, because Sunila was already very clear as which wall she had to put her ladder against. Because she had that clarity, she had set her vision very, very early, she was able to achieve this. If Sunila can achieve this, then all of you here can achieve. And again, don't consider age as a restriction. I'm just giving you this example so that you can really think big. Okay, nothing should stop you. So I think Sunila, if I'm not wrong, she finished her PhD from the QUT, and now she really wants to do postdoc and then explore her career in vision science further. Okay, you can go read her story. If you type her name, you will get her story. And then some of you will now say that, oh no, ma'am, you don't know. My school is not so good. My environment is not so good. I am not from a very well-off family, and I do not have good support system in the family, and I don't have people to guide me. So you guys could now, some of the monkey mind will do this. The monkey come up with all sort of blame and excuse and complain to drive you away from putting this ladder against that wall. What should you do at that time? Read inspiration. This is a lady. Okay, so I listened to her talk yesterday. Okay, she is Dr. Edith Eva Eger. This is a book. She's 92 years old now. And if you know about the Holocaust episode in World War II, which is basically the genocide of the European Jews. So between 1941 and 1945, the German occupied Europe, okay, basically the Nazi Germany, they were burning thousands of people. Okay, thousands of Jews. They were burning thousands of Jews, like about 6 million Jews they murdered. And Dr. Edith's family was among that 6 million. She lost her parents, she lost her siblings. They were murdered. Okay, they were literally murdered. Uh, and she witnessed all of this. She witnessed this entire traumatic episode of people getting burnt in front of her eyes. And then she sort of escaped. And if you know Viktor Frankl's story, the famous psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, the same World War II time survivor. Okay, so she read Viktor Frankl's work, Dr. Edith. She got inspired, and then now she is a psychologist who is helping many patients with post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, you should listen to her podcast. Just go type her name and you will be able to listen to her podcast. So what does Dr. Edith say? When we suffer, we get some gift in life. She was a victim. She was a constant victim, but she decided that what she wanted was real freedom. And what she did, that was more powerful. She went back to Auschwitz. So Auschwitz is where people were burnt. If we were the trauma survivors, we wouldn't want to go back to that same place where our parents were like, her parents were burnt there, but she went there to that same place where the incident happened, and she gained that courage. This finally helped her to release all the pain within and to be able to forgive herself for having survived that death camp, because her parents did not survive that camp. And now she continues to save uh, many such victims. She says that I can't say that everything happens for a reason, but I can say that pain, hardship, and suffering are the gift that help us grow and learn and become who we are meant to be. I totally agree with her. I think it's through all this pain, through all this uncertainty, we grow, provided we really understand that this is for our growth and not to get into the mode of victim. So, the first approach to this self mastery is understanding where you are on this curve. This is called the S curve. This is a curve developed by E.M. Rogers in 1962. It's basically a graphic illustration of how basically ideas and products spread through cultures. For example, you're joining the optometry school and you are at zero. You're joining a college, wherever you are at zero. Then slowly, first year, second year, you start to develop competence because you are being taught skills, you are being provided with that knowledge. So you're growing in knowledge of the new field and you are starting to make sense of that information in that field. And then you're slowly growing in, your confidence is also building up. You come to internship, you feel very, very motivated because you're going to now become a graduate out of your optometry school or medical school or wherever you are. Okay. And at some point, start to lose excitement. It's no more giving you that excitement, like the same excitement that was present during the school, during the internship is no longer present. uh, and then you also start to become very complacent. You just settle inside that comfort zone. You join as an optometrist and then you start to work, you lose all the excitement and life becomes a sort of monotony. You just come in and go, come in and go, do monotonous work. This is the curve that I call as the S curve. Okay. So basically, adoption happens very, very slow at the base when you start to develop competence and confidence, and then until a tip is reached, and then hyper growth happens. Like you really accelerate your growth, just steeps, and then it just slows. And you can now imagine what happens here. This is going to go as an asymptotic curve like that. This can happen at any part of your career, whether you are a UG, PG, PhD. It can happen at any part. You just go ahead, you reach a stage of mastery, or you think you have reached that stage of mastery, and you become complacent. There is no challenge, there is no growth, and you just feel that there's nothing for me beyond this, and you lose excitement. Okay. Now, what should you do? First, you should know which part of the curve you are, where you are currently in your career. Are you at the level of building competence? Are you at the level of building confidence? Or are you at the level of building mastery? Or are you at the level of the tip of the mastery where you should fall back to the base of the curve? So, what should you do when you go here? You should be bold enough to come back to the base of the curve and start again gaining competence and confidence, and increase your skill set. Okay, that is the whole S curve is all about. You have to come back, go up, come back and go up, never ever stay on top. Okay. So what do we do to do this? Number one, you have to take the right risk. You have to embrace the fear wherever you are. Now you completed your internship, there is some fear. I'm not telling you to embrace, I'm not telling you to just be bold and courageous and don't feel the fear. No, I feel the fear inside, you feel the fear inside, we're all human beings. But embrace the fear, let fear be inside, but travel along with the fear, but have the courage so that you are able to move forward. Because if you get stuck in fear, then this, it's just a rabbit hole. The next is resilience. What is resilience? Resilience is any time an adversity comes in, be it small or large. It could be as small as not getting your not being able to get your dinner for the day, for that matter, or not being able to buy your favorite food in the canteen, or not being able to shop in Amazon because Amazon and Flipkarts were closed. So whatever it is that you see as adversity, it could be small or large, but whatever it is, you should advance despite adversity. That's called resilience. I call it resilience muscle because it's basically something that practicing and practicing. The more adversities you face in life, the more resilient you become. And how you will become resilient? Remember that you have a vision that drives you. So whatever that happens, if you have a vision, that will help you wake up every other day despite all the adversities that come in. Especially, like, you get married and then marriage becomes an adversity, because you now think whether, especially for women here, you now will think, you will still be able to continue pursuing your career, you will still be able to pursue your studies, having a kid. Or for breadwinners, okay, like right after graduation, some of us have to earn for our family, for our parents. And then you will think that, I do not have the opportunity to pursue my studies because I'm the breadwinner. But don't let any adversity stop you pursuing your goals. If your vision is very clear, you will find a way to pursue it, whatever happens. So resilience is advancing despite adversity. Don't wait for the adversity to knock your door. Okay, be ready even before the adversity comes in. Put your plan A, plan B, plan C. I will be ready whatever comes in, whether COVID comes in, post COVID wave comes in, any other new pandemic comes in, or even world war comes in. But I will be ready to pursue steadfast towards my vision. That is what is building up resilience. And it's very, very important to embrace constraints. Okay, especially this applies to limited resource settings. When you don't have infrastructure, be it in your college or home, whatever it is, despite that limited resource setup, you have to move forward. That is very, very important. Okay, so embrace that fear, let the fear be inside, let that bank balance that is scaring you, let it travel along with you. Or the lack of parent support, lack of support from whatever, let that travel along with you. But have your vision big enough that should drive you to achieve your vision. Okay, the next one is very, very important. Let go of ego. Now, this will sound a little bit difficult, because you might ask that, ma'am, we are just very, very young group, and I know some of the seniors are here with me, but some of you might just say that, this is like, we are very young. Why should we have ego? Ego is something that comes with us the moment we are born. Okay, because that's what defines our identity. That's what tells us that you are this 5 feet, 5 foot, 6 foot tall figure with that dark hair or the blonde eyes or whatever. I mean, it gives you an identity that gives you a feeling of self-worth. And nobody can say, I don't have an ego. All of us have an ego. But do not let that ego judge the path of your growth. Because, of course, it's a long spiritual journey before someone can say that I really do not have ego. But what's important is being aware of ego. For example, I'll give you an example. Okay, now if you want to take a decision in life, and then you have two choices. For example, okay, one choice is like, where you have to start off, beat everybody and then push forward in a very mode. The other one is being very collaborative, work with everybody and then proceed forward. So this one, the competitive mode, where the mind says that, beat everybody, no matter what happens to everybody around me, I don't really mind. I just want to move forward in life. And that's a ego perspective. But the collaborative mind is what is your higher self, is what is the divine self that's telling you that working with people is what that matters. So keep your ego aside, and then accept that, yes, every time you want to take a decision, ego will come in and knock your door, because that's part and parcel of us. But being aware of that ego self and being able to discriminate that this is the ego talk, this is my higher self talk, and then take a decision based on what your higher self tells you. Okay, and you we don't so that's this is a powerful quote. When ego is lost, limit is lost. You become infinite, kind and beautiful. Of course, the moment you just throw your ego, you become really beautiful, I'll tell you. And so these are some of the basic value systems I really want you to adopt. Okay, like, willingness to be yourself, uh, staying with the fear, and then moving forward. So there are 7 aspects of this yes curve. Okay, so now you are right after the optometry school, you want to now take a risk. Okay, so what should I do? some of you had asked, what should I do now? Which university should I apply to? Look at your distinctive strengths. What are your strengths? What are you really passionate about? And embrace constraints, okay? Embracing constraints means whatever limited resources set up that you have got, it's okay, let it be there. Even if you say that my optometry school wasn't that good, it didn't give me a proper education, look at opportunities where you will be able to now fill in those gaps and build your foundation strong. Embrace constraints and find a solution. And as you move in the top of the curve, please battle entitlement, because what really happens is, if you're really good, okay, academically strong, you've got good grades, the optometry community is very small. Immediately you will be given a position, okay, you will be given a position of an in charge, or something where you will have to manage people, like you will have to manage the students and interns and things like that. And then this entitlement comes in. Oh, now I have got a power, I have got a position, and automatically this ego self will come in and complacence will set in. So never allow the entitlement to stick with you. Battle entitlement and move forward. Move forward, move forward. Fail, guys. Don't fear failure. If you fail, come back again, start from wherever you are and give failure its due credit. And number 7 is very important, which is being discovery driven. What is being discovery driven is always to look for what needs to be explored further. What more can I do with my passion? How can I contribute more? Always be inquisitive. This number 7 is very, very important, because if you don't do that, you will keep staying there in a very complacent, dull mode, and life will become very boring. So keep going back and look at this curve again and again at every point. And the moment you go here, you achieve mastery of something, jump back to the base and start again. Okay, this is very, very important. So now what I'm going to ask you is a question, okay? So just answer where you think you are in the curve now. Okay, so I showed you a curve where you start with competence, build confidence, you become a master, and then now after you become a master, you jump back and you start again. Okay, so where do you think you are? Because that is very important. Keep a check on this. Okay, keep a check on this curve, because it helps you to disrupt and grow more stronger. Because at some point in my life, I felt very complacent. I felt as if there's nothing more to explore, and I did this experiment. There is a quiz also. Okay, you can go type in S curve disruption, and then I found that I have now, I am now settled in that mode of entitlement. So I had to battle that entitlement, and I jumped back to zero. Okay, I jumped back to the ground, and then I went back. So every now and then we have to jump back to the ground. Okay, so just think about it. Whatever your mind tells you first is usually the right answer. Don't think very, very, very complicated or complex. Okay, so we just have 2 more concepts to cover. So we planned this for 90 minutes, so I'm really glad that we are on time. And okay, so I'm going to now share these results, and for you guys to know how our colleagues are doing. And so this is how, usually this is the average. Okay, usually 46 percentage, usually 50 percentage of us are in the process of building confidence, and a minority of us will be building mastery, and then some of us will actually have to jump from one curve to another. And kudos to all those who said you have to jump from one curve to another, because you've realized the need to jump from one curve to another. And then again, high five to all those who said I'm not sure where I am, because you're very, very true to yourself. Now think about where you are in this curve, so that will help you to decide. If you are at the base of competence, then you need to build your skill set. Okay, you need to learn theory, you need to learn, find a mentor, learn the foundational principles. Okay, if you are in competence mode. If you are in confidence mode, you have to practice. And as you do that, you will become a master. But to become a master, you have to also develop other skill sets. As I told you, the aspects of moving courageously forward, building resilience, becoming collaborative with people, and then when you reach there, then jump back and start again. Okay, so awesome. I'm so very glad for the way, okay, for the way you guys are interacting. And now I'm going to ask you a question. So there is this friend that's calling you in and telling you it could be this way or this way. You can imagine wherever, and then this friend is calling you, okay, and then during the COVID times, and tells you, I am feeling very very anxious and restless. So this is the statement that the friend is giving you. I mean, he or she is telling you that I really don't know what I want to do with life. Life is sucks, and I don't know what I want to do after internship. I'm really clueless. After this masters, I'm really clueless, and I'm feeling very anxious and restless. Now, how will you answer to this person? And that's the next poll, because that there's a reason why I am asking this question. Okay, so just click in what you will do for this person. Okay, what will be your response? So a friend is calling you in and telling, I'm feeling very anxious. What will you be telling this friend? And then I will tell about your levels of uh, emotional stability. Please be very very open, very frank, very authentic. Okay, whatever you feel, answer, guys, because we are not here to judge you. We are here to help you, and all of us together are trying to find our ways out through this. Okay, so believe in us, believe in this community, and then give your response. So whatever you feel like telling in, just answer. Okay, there's no right or wrong answer to all these questions. It's only about, as I told you, it's a soul discovering journey for yourself. You are not doing it for anybody else. You're doing it for your own self. So what you will do in this situation, just answer. This is anonymous. Again, I no none of us are going to know about this. Okay. Okay. Good. So I'm going to share the results, and then I'm going to talk about an important aspect of why I asked this question. So 78 percentage of you will tell, oh, I can understand, can you tell more about it? And then some of us will say, oh my goodness, I'm also feeling the same crappy feeling. And of course, minority of us will also tell, I'm not in any mood to talk to anybody. Okay, now what does this mean? What is the simple conversation telling about us? It is telling us about our emotional intelligence. This is not taught in, I don't know, in any school for that matter. We don't talk about it actually in a formal curriculum. Ideally, this should be taught even at the level of school. This is what is called as emotional intelligence. Okay, there are 12 competencies. I'm not going to talk about this. Is a different topic altogether, but please go and read more about it. You can take even quiz to understand your emotional intelligence level. But based on all the research that's coming up, there is an IQ, which is based on whatever knowledge that you have, and there's an EQ, which is an emotional intelligence quotient. And people who have high levels of EQ are the ones who are continuing to perform very well. Not just that, 90 percentage of top performers in organization have high levels of emotional intelligence, and that is nothing to do with your knowledge. It's all to do with how aware you are of your own self. First of all, I told you, like, right, self mastery. First, being able to understand your own feeling. Am I feeling fearful? Am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling restless? Am I feeling joyful? Checking in with your own body and first understanding what you are feeling within. Many of us don't do that at all. Many of us, or if you're feeling angry, we just spill out onto that person next to us or somebody victim. We just sort of let the emotions onto that person and we move forward. We are not aware of what we feel on a minute to minute basis or even a day to day basis. We need to master that chaos within. So the very first thing is to become aware of our own self, what's happening within. This is a picture that tells you that you have to balance your head and heart. It's not everything is not here, guys. It's all here. Because I would not call myself as a high IQ person. Okay, I'm being very frank. I'm not telling just for the sake of I'm definitely not a person with high IQ. But the moment I understood what it means to have high levels of emotional intelligence, I worked diligently building up every aspect of this, to master self control, to become adaptable, to become diplomatic, to use kind words, okay, to have positive outlook towards life. And this actually helped me to grow. At least personally, if I have to tell my story, I would tell that emotional intelligence helped me to climb up to wherever I am right now. But of course, there's so much that I have to work yet. But more than IQ, EQ is something that you guys need to focus on. And it is more important now than ever, because in a time like this where things are chaotic, people around are chaotic, there is so much negative energy all around. Unless you master your own self and build each one of this, it's very difficult to navigate through these tough times. Okay, so first become aware of the emotions that you're feeling on a constant basis. Then look at what should I really do to manage my own self. Not about managing your parents, not about managing your siblings, about managing your husband or wife. It's not about managing them, it's about managing you. And then developing that social awareness skill. These are very important. First of all, the person next to you is very similar to you. They have the same composition of blood and nerves and bones and cells like you. To just feel that empathetic nature itself will help you to treat that other person with kindness, be it your own patients or be it your fellow colleague. And that is what is called social awareness. The moment you start managing yourself and start managing that next person with empathy and organizational awareness. What does this mean? Every organization, even in families, we have hierarchical systems. We have parents, we have our family branch, and then we have, the first generation grandmother, grandfather. But to be able to relate to everybody, and in big institutions, there's hierarchy. And this sort of connecting with people, being able to realize that everybody is actually operating from their own level of hierarchy, actually will help us to be more aware and more empathetic and understand those people with much more kindness. Okay, our parents are helping, are trying to protect us, and that's why they are behaving like that. Our elder brother is behaving because he's trying to protect us. So this sort of an awareness is very important. And the moment you are able to manage yourself and people around you, you become an influential person. You're able to manage relationships, you are able to coach and mentor people, you're able to do conflict management, you are able to work as a team, and you become a leader because you now know how to manage your own self. And this you can achieve even if you are 17, 18, or you are 20, 21, or even if you are 50, 60. Doesn't really matter. At any age, the moment you understand these domains and competencies, you can really just move forward. Okay, now just look at these things. Okay, self awareness, self management, social awareness, relationship management. So the next question I want to ask you is, because this is all important for employers to employ you. The employers, when they actually interview uh, candidates, at least, I look for more emotional intelligence than actually IQ. Okay, so I will be very frank with you. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to launch the poll regarding this. If you uh, if you want to, sorry, four major domains, not three major domains. Which do you think you are good at? Okay, so because all of us are good at some of these, right? So whichever you think you are good at among these major domains, be it self awareness, self management, social awareness, or relationship management, click it, because it's really a strength. Tomorrow when you want to write your strengths in your CV, this is a strength for you guys. Because if you think that you're not good at certain aspects, work on it, it can be developed. It's just about awareness and building that awareness. Okay, because this is one of the key competency skills that people are looking at, especially in healthcare, when it's all about relationship with human beings, where we need to be so much aware of our own self and manage people. So be very open with yourself and answer, so that it will help you to uh, you know just move forward very successfully. Don't say that don't say that you're not good at anything. You are definitely good at something. Just because all of us are born with these. In fact, a child is so very emotionally intelligent. Only after they, when they grow up, we kill everything. Just keep thinking. Some of you may be like, you just want to take your time to think about the whole thing, but look at it. It's equal split. And Wherever you think you are very competent, that's your strength, guys. Be it self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, or relationship management, it's your competency, it's your strength. And if you think that you need to develop, of course, develop everything. Don't just think that I'm good at social awareness, so I will leave the rest. No, you need to be good at everything. Okay. Now, the next question is in continuation to this, because of course, if you're good at something, then you need to work on something else. So, what is that you want to work, uh, so that you want to play your inner game very, very well? Just that awareness. We are developing that awareness about. I should have added this need to think through in the previous poll also, I guess. But thanks to all of you for giving your time, basically, because and participating, and the way you're interacting is so, you know gives the entire team enormous amounts of gratitude to all of you. And almost like everybody is answering, except for a handful of people, everybody is answering. I'm so glad to look at the way that you guys have picked up these concepts. Okay, but go read in depth. Okay, there are like tons of books on just emotional intelligence. There are volumes. So I'm going to now share for all of us to know that again, the same kind of split, right? Naturally, when you're good at something, you will develop on the other thing, but you have to prioritize something, because you know that I'm not good at this. Especially relationship management is very, very crucial, okay, in the current world. So please, if you're able to develop that, you'll be very, very successful. Okay. Awesome. Now we will move on to our final part of this thing. Okay, now that I know that I have to master my own self, and then I have to become emotionally intelligent, what should I do? You have to seek mentoring. Okay. Mentoring is not an extracurricular activity. Many of us think that, going and sitting with somebody and then taking their advice or coaching is something extra that we need to do. No, it is very vital for cultivating and enriching an inclusive community, as Diana says here. And so, what I want to ask you is that, this Robert Frost quote is my favorite, because a teacher is basically an awakener. Anybody who teaches basically awakens a part of you, right? Because if not for my teacher, I wouldn't be here. So what I'm going to ask you is, wherever you are, okay, all of you please answer this question, because some of us might think that only at the very early part of our career we need to have mentor. No, even if you are 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old, you still need to have a mentor. So if you have a mentor, please say yes. If you do not have a mentor, just say no. And I will tell you why it's important to have a mentor. Okay. You definitely need a mentor who will help you walk you through every point of your life. Okay, because this is a person that will help you see the big picture, the one that you are not seeing for your own self. Okay, good. So it's basically 50-50, guys. So 50 percentage of you say you have a mentor. Good. And 50 percentage of you say you don't have a mentor. Don't worry. Now, why is that we need a mentor, basically? And who is actually a mentor? So whether you are a Star Wars fan, okay, having the JD or the Yoda, or you are Kung Fu Panda fan like me, having a Master Shifu, it's very, very important to have a mentor. Uh, Wherever, I mean, for as I told you, at any age we need a mentor, because this is the role of a mentor is to be non-judgmental, to provide you constructive criticism on the road, on the path that you travel. And this mentor is could be a role model. They actually help you discover your strengths and weakness. It's a mutual support, basically. By sharing your experience with the mentor learns, and by the mentor's experience, you learn. And this mentor should be very trustworthy. When you choose a mentor, be very, very choosy. Be very, look for these characteristics and qualities, because you don't want someone who sorts of tell your stories to everybody, right? You want a mentor who's trustworthy and who has leadership qualities, and who has already set in a path, or a role model, so that they are willing to share their failures. That's very important. This mentor should be able to tell you their failures and what they learned. Okay. You can have mentors that are senior to you. You can have what I call even mentors who are contemporary. For example, I made this presentation and I shared with my batchmate, my classmate Aparna, and she helped me reorganize this a little bit. So she sort of mentored me as how I can reorient the thought process for today's presentation. Okay, so I told her, like, think that you are a 23-year-old person and listen to this presentation and tell me what you want to do. Okay, so you can have contemporary mentors who will critically look at things and then give you that feedback, but it should be very non-judgmental, because if they are very judgmental then you won't go to them. But I want to acknowledge the role of two mentors in my life, truly speaking, because these two people, Dr. KK and Dr. Meenakshi, they they actually helped me see the other side of me, for that matter. And if for all the transformation that I've had, I think I should uh, they spent a lot of time. Of course, I have inspirational mentors like Dr. Badrinath, and then even there was one more contemporary mentor, Dr. My soulmate Raji. But these two mentors were always there, giving their ears to me, and then they helped me discover my strengths and weakness. Okay, you need to have a mentor that's willing to give you your time. So for those of you who are very clueless about what you want to do in life, whether your ladder is against the right wall or the wrong wall, or you're totally confused, find a mentor. That's the message I want to give here. Now, next, you know that you have to master your own self. You have to build your emotional intelligence. Go find a mentor. And next, you have to create your unique identity. Each one of us who have come to this planet have our own unique blueprint, like our fingerprint. None of our fingerprints are similar. Then why do you want to mimic somebody else? You are your unique blueprint. Okay, but what your monkey mind tells you, it tells you you're nobody, it tells you that you're worthless, it tells you you're very small. Like, for people who tell you that you are small, then you can tell them what a mosquito can do in the bed. The mosquito is not going to allow you to sleep despite the fact that it's such small creature. Okay, so don't underestimate the power of feeling small. No, you are your own worth, and you are magnanimous. You have your own significance. This is Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote. Okay, so it's about visualizing how you want to take your vision forward, and how you want to develop the necessary skill set, right? If you want to be unique, if you want to establish yourself, if you want to achieve your vision, then you have to now build the skill set that is required to take you to that level. It's not just about writing in and then keeping it and sleeping for 14 hours. No, that's not what we want you to do right now. Now that you have this fire burning ragely inside your belly, you should now go and look at what are the skill sets I need to develop to create my own life's path and blueprint. I'm going to ask you a very tough question now. Okay, so be ready for that question. There are basic skill sets that are required for all of us in healthcare or any industry for that matter. What are those basic skill sets? Asking the right questions. We need to be able to ask right questions. We need to be able to speak and write in English without grammatical mistake. We need to be able to critically review a scientific paper. We need to be able to have higher levels of emotional intelligence and be with people who disagree with us. If you're going to fight with people that disagree with you, then you are not an emotionally intelligent person. So these are some of the basic skill sets and emotional aspects that you need to develop. And you need to find the best place to work. Even if your education was not adequate, you need to find the best place to work, develop your competency, confidence, achieve mastery, come back. Now, I'm going to ask you a tough question. Okay, be very frank, be very, very frank, because this is going to really take you to the next level. Okay, do you think that you need to spend time building your expertise in basic skill set like English, grammar, writing, communication, public speaking, drafting an email, and email etiquette? If you don't know what this is all about, then say, yes, I think I need to spend time. These are things that's going to get you not just a job, it's going to get you a big position. It's going to help you climb up that ladder so very fast. Many of us know our English is broken. Many of us know our grammar is weak. Many of us know our communication need to be improved. Many of us know that we draft pathetic emails. Many of us know that we don't even know how to put a header in the email, what to type in the email subject box, how to end an email, how to create a signature. Nobody is going to teach you in a college or a school. You need to learn. And there are people to teach you this, but how many of you have thought about this? That the moment you send your CV to a prospective employer, he or she is going to look at all this. Or you are going to establish networking with somebody for $1 million business, that businessman is going to look at this. Or even if the businessman is not good at English for that matter, if your English is strong enough, he's going to give you the deal. Whether whatever you want to achieve, these are skill sets that should not be compromised at any point. Okay, and that is why I'm asking you this tough question, because people won't ask you these questions. And now look at the results. 88% of us think that we need to spend time. And what did we do in the last 5 months? Let's now kick back the past. Let's now take a decision that I know I have a problem with this particular aspect of my foundational skill set. What about all higher skill set? My foundational skill set is weak. Let me work on this. Let me take help from a mentor. Let me take help from a fellow colleague who is good at this. He is good at English. I am good at public speaking. Let both of us work together. So please, these are skill sets that are very, very important for not survival, but for thriving. For survival, nothing is important. You can survive. Okay, as long as you have one food for every week and some water, you can survive. But we are talking about thriving here. Okay, so this is what I said. I will create some pain, but that's okay. But understand that yes, we need to be working on these skill sets, because when will luck come and knock your door? When you are prepared to meet the opportunity. If you're not prepared, even if the opportunity comes along, you will not know, because you were not prepared, and then you will say, I am unlucky. Now, luck or unluck is just a concept. Okay, it depends on how well you are prepared. Okay, and now for the optometry community who is here. Okay, for those of you who are thinking, like, who are in practice a long time, or who now want to pursue your masters, like, in a different trajectory, you want to go and pursue your PhD, and now think that this whole COVID has sort of shook the whole foundation. I will tell you that there are, of course, Yuval Noah Harari said, Harari's recent book, 21 Lessons for 21st Century, and many other visionaries sort of tell that data, artificial intelligence, innovations, prediction models, and clinical algorithms, these are the ones that are going to drive the next century. So none of us are going to lose job, provided we are also equipping ourselves in these things. So for those of you who are looking at an edge, okay, some of you have to build the foundation, but parallelly think innovatively. For example, you can apply all this to the field I have mentioned here, be it myopia, imaging, curriculum development for 21st century, because we are using the same pedagogical, I don't even know whether we use the appropriate pedagogical models, but the same sort of curriculum, community IK models need a reformation. There are some innovations that are required. If you want to become an entrepreneur, you can look at what innovations will suit the current situation. For those of you in practice, primary eye care and family eye care practices are need of the hour. People want to come as family and then take an eye care. And Dr. KK gave a brilliant lecture last week in Dr. Raji Memorial Integrative Practice. Go and listen to that lecture. So for those of you who want to now move ahead to the next level in optometry, ideas are I can put you 10 slides like this. You just need to sit and brainstorm and then find your path, find your niche, find your passion, and then sort of explore in that direction. Okay, the reason why I put this slide, it looks like a slightly out of context, but the reason why I put this slide is because the world is not closed. Okay, the world is going to come back with much more reformations, but please avoid these mistakes at the very, very early part of your career. The first mistake is don't focus on money during the early part without building the foundation. Of course, I know I don't, I'm not saying don't become a billionaire, millionaire. Money is very important because money in the right hand is super. You can help everybody else. But if you focus on money, sometimes your focus might just distract. And then another mistake, not spending time on building up the foundation, skill enhancement, continuous learning and upgrading. Spreading too far, too thin, which means not really specializing in anything, but then just having your hands in everything. Specializing too early sometimes just remaining generalized for too long. What do I mean by that? If you are just going to practice only refraction, then you are remaining generalized for too long. You need to find your niche, specialize, and move forward. If you teach without clinical experience, it's a mistake. If you do clinical experience but don't engage in teaching, it's a mistake. If you think that your current circumstance is limiting you, which is be the pandemic or be the current practice wherever you are, if you are blaming that circumstance, that's a mistake. If you don't understand the power of disruption, what do I mean by disruption? I told the S curve, right? You have to go to the top, then come back and disrupt yourself. You have to keep gaining new skill sets. If you don't understand the power of collaboration and you think that you can do it all by yourself, that's a mistake. So there are many mistakes, but I thought I will at least tell some of these things which are very some of the mistakes that I myself did. Okay, and many of my own close friends and community did, which we learned in a later part, but we felt if somebody had told us this before, we would have avoided these mistakes. Okay, now we are going to go to a very powerful part of the whole process. Like, we're going to end this presentation, so take your notebook. But before that, there's just one thing I want you to do, because I have quite a bit. So maybe your mind is like bubbling with energy, enthusiasm, as well as depression. Okay, so there's too much going on inside. So just do this. Okay, just keep your hands in front of your forehead like this, and then just just take your hands on either sides like this. This is basically a sort of an energy practice where you're clearing the clutter. Okay, so all the clutter that is unwanted getting cleared. Just do this maybe 4 or 5 times. Okay, and then read this out on the screen with your name written. For example, Dr. Rizwana. Not, I'm not Dr. Rizwana. I'll call Riz. Okay, Riz is a graduate of the Elite School of Optometry. I'm assuming that I graduated now. Okay, after graduating in 2020, she went ahead to pursue her career in binocular vision and pediatric optometry practice, and she specialized in binocular vision. And this is 10 years. 10 years from now, you are reading this. Okay, so Dr. Riz is now one of the most countries recognized experts. So whatever you are writing there. Okay, you're writing your name there, and read it louder. You're reading it louder. I'm going to select some random names here from participants. Okay, so Grace has been raising her hands for a long time, so I'm going to put Grace's name just here. Okay, so Miss Grace is a graduate of optometry school, whatever. After graduating in 2020, she went ahead to pursue her career in I don't know what, Grace, what is that you're interested in? I don't know, maybe I will say myopia management and specialist in myopia. Dr. Grace is now one of the country's most recognized experts in myopia, and also continues to guide and mentor hundreds of students who seek her support. The Indian Council of Optometry, because we'll get a council soon. Okay, so the Indian Council of Optometry is proud to recognize the efforts of Dr. Grace by honoring her with the Lifetime Achievement Award. How does this sound? It gives me goosebumps to just read it. Now you have to fill this bio for your own self. You can add 2-3 lines extra, whatever that you want. Okay, I think people want yeah, friends are indeed good mentors. Yeah, I'm reading some comments. And so look yourself 10 years, 20 years from now, and then fill your name here, and just type in the chat box how you feel after you read this bio. Write this bio, put it on a wall, put it on a wherever, put it on the mirror, your vision statement and your bio. Now this bio can change. I mean, sometimes your passion can become multi-dimensional. Okay, after you specialize in something, you will link that. For example, I started with peds optometry. Okay, I didn't do binocular vision first. I did peds optometry. Then I switched to BV. Then I switched to neuro optometry. Then I switched to special kids. So it's like, sort of like, then I sort of mix everything now. So you can keep switching, but right now whatever that comes into your mind, you can just put, like, I want somebody to say that so and so specialized in optometric education, and Dr. A is now one of the country's most recognized expert in optometric education and continues to guide and mentor hundreds of students. Guys, there are dearth of experts in many core areas of optometry: binocular vision, low vision, contact lens, optometric education, community eye care. Don't think that you don't have a specialty to explore. Feeling hopeful, please. Don't wish, you don't wish only. I mean, your wish is going to come true. Just write this and keep it, and just see how this is going to manifest. Okay, I assure you, because we took the support of the universe before we started this presentation. With whole heart, write it and see how it's going to manifest. Okay, the moment you stop blaming and complaining external circumstances, this will become true. That's the only thing you need to avoid. Okay, the only thing that you need to let go is blaming and complaining, and your ego, of course. Okay, because you want to be a good human being also, right? So basically, success is all about playing the outer game and the inner game in a very balanced way, because the school taught us that it's all outside. I mean, conventional school system told us what is important is knowledge, technical expertise, skill set, experience. That's what the school system taught us. But what we know basically is the inner game, which is finding meaning, finding purpose, developing emotional intelligence, building our own identity, and having our own internal operating system. And then playing both is going to give you true success. It's going to give you holistic success, so that you don't have millionaires who feel really pathetic about life. They millionaires of many people who are rich are feeling pathetic about life because they've not played the inner game well. All they were doing was playing the outer game. That's how people who have climbed up the success ladder feeling very empty inside is because they've not played the inner game well. Okay, so as you really have this sort of positive energy, one of the things that you can do to enhance your skill set is to look for authentic, credible resources to enhance your knowledge and skill set. Don't just go um, and then I'm not talking offensive. Basically, the problem is this: many a times, as I told, when we teach without clinical experience, or especially core subjects, definitely there is a gap. Or when we teach without evidence based approach, there is a gap. So it's very important, when you sort of seek knowledge and want to get certified and take your skill set to next level, then definitely you need to look for authentic and credible sources. And so we are very happy to be. I want the entire BV team to come on the screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, good. So I request all of you to sort of clap for our team. And team, you can clap. You can unmute the mic and clap. And so we are launching Netra Vidya's practitioner series on binocular vision and vision therapy. This is just a teaser. We are having 3 lectures. The first on 19th September, which is this Saturday, and we have one on 25th September by none other than my own mentor, Professor Michelle Scheiman, and Professor Susan, my inspiration and yet another mentor. So they have agreed to speak to us on some of the important aspects of binocular vision, strabismus, and prescribing prisms. So please go to netravidya.org, or you can email netravidya@snmail.org, and we're very happy to be launching this program during this inaugural episode. And so we're super happy, and our entire team is here. They put in so much of hard work, and this one is like, this program you will really enjoy. I mean, it's we have put in so much work, and so if you join, you will know how different it is. Okay, so basically, self mastery has to start with self honesty. I know this talk took a little bit longer time, but I think we needed to tell you this, like, it's important to learn certain things that are painful, but it's important to learn. And some of you who might feel very depressed at this point, because after listening to a lecture like this, not that everybody is going to feel motivated. Some of you are going to feel terrible. That's okay. What you want to do is to take a journal and write it. Write down all your thoughts, take it from the head to the paper, because doing a journaling work is like, right, is like doing a meditation. Okay, because it's now you are having a relationship with your mind, and the next thing you want to do is to take the help of a mentor. Okay, so that's what you need to do. And this is a quote that I read like just 2 days back. We will not go back to normal, because normal never was. Our pre-corona existence will still continue. We have normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. We are being given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. I 200% agree with Sonia on this one, because whatever pandemic or any sort of such calamity has come in for a reason, for a purpose. So we should call this as a period of greater awakening, actually, because it has now helped us explore and dive deep within our own self and ask some of those tough questions. So don't blame anything. And if you still feel depressed, then go and subscribe to, I think it's called The Universe Talks. Okay, so it's called The Universe Talks. So I have subscribed to this. So what it does is, it sends me a cute email every day. It's a free subscription. It sends me a cute email every day. It sends to your inbox. So one day I was very depressed and I opened up my email, and this is what it said to me. It's like the universe talking to you. No matter where there is risk, no matter what you want, what you need, where you have been, where you are headed, when you ask, how you ask, who is there with you, who else you are thinking of, no matter what, no matter what, no matter what, please believe me. Believe in the universe. The moment you have only good thoughts, have good intentions, and you are willing to walk with courage, embracing the fear, believe in the universe. Okay, believe in the universe. It's going to give you whatever that you need. And I think it's time for questions. Is there any cost to attend the session? Yes, Uma, there is a cost to attend the session. So for students, we've made it very, very inexpensive. It's 250 rupees per session. For practitioners, it's all three sessions put together. It's it's 1,000 rupees basically. So there is a cost involved, but there will be a certificate that will be provided to you, and you will also be given a handout. So I hope that this sort of gyan really helped you. I really have to tell you that this is my very first sort of motivational lecture. I don't know, I don't want to call this motivational lecture, but sort of letting my thoughts out, because I really felt that nobody is telling these things to especially younger minds. Okay, so that's why I sort of did this. If it didn't make any sense to you, apologies, leave it. If it made sense to you, then please go ahead and just start of exploring your vision. Okay. And I am so willing and looking forward to reading your success stories. um, with the universe presence, I'm telling you, all the 200 people who were here with me today, I'm really looking forward to read your success stories. Okay. Okay, so I think I'll take a couple of questions here. Specializing too early. What do you mean by that? Okay. So specializing too early means right after internship, you say that I want to do orthoptics, okay, or binocular vision for that matter, without really seeing good number of primary eye care patients, or like, examining. I would at least recommend spending a couple of years also doing primary eye care, parallelly exploring a specialty, because see, the bread and butter of optometry is to gain that skill set to actually diagnose sort of all common eye conditions, right? So it's important to do primary eye care, like do see all sorts of conditions, but also develop your niche and expertise in a specialty. If you jump in right after internship to a very narrow area, then I have seen that the clinical knowledge, that expertise sort of lacks at some point. Okay, so that's what I meant by specializing too early. And so for all the participants today, you will be getting an email where these details will be shared. The link will be shared. Okay. How will you overcome your anxiety towards your goal? Okay. So Manasi, if your goal is not giving you an anxiety, then the goal is not at all worth doing it. The goal has to give you anxiety. The goal has to give you jitters in the stomach and everywhere. So if you feel anxiety, it's a good anxiety. The stress and anxiety that you feel towards your goal is a good thing. Okay, like if you think about pursuing a PhD, immediately you will feel you may not even be able to sleep, and then when you get the PhD admission, again your sleep will go, but it's going to take you towards your vision, right? So anxiety is like how you look at it, how you look, the perspective that you look at that anxiety. But but after you enroll into the program, and if you are not making progress, okay, then if you become anxious, you have to think basically what you should do so that you can get rid of that anxiety. So anxiety could be just thinking about that goal, but go jump in. Anxiety could be because you have not developed that expertise, or you have not put in the time that is required for that goal. So I was in that state of an anxiety for almost 1.5 years. I enrolled into PhD, I had not done anything at all, and anxiety was building in like anything, because I had not taken any step towards doing my data collection. Okay, so look at where that anxiety is stemming from, what is causing, and try to address that. But look at it with kindness, look at it with so much self kindness, because you are worth everything. Nothing is more important than you. Thank you guys for all the other please again show the slide on yes curve. Yes, I will. Yes, sessions are going to go live. Yes, all the sessions are going to go live. And if some of you have issues, like sort of unable to join after you have registered, then case by case basis we will be sharing that recording with you. Okay, but the recording is not going to be made available in the public platform, because this is paid session. So you need to be joining live. Yes. Okay. Okay. And how can I develop my English skills? Please join in a lot of free courses on English, and work. In just 1 month, I studied in a government school, and my medium, and then none of my teachers spoke good English until +2. I came into optometry school, and I saw everybody speaking English at the tip of their tongue. And of course, there were a few others who were like me. And then I took it as a more, like, what I should say, like, I don't know, like, a oath. And then I read, I don't know if you know Wren and Martin, it's a grammar book. So I read every page of Wren and Martin. And there's another book by Norman Lewis on word power made easy to build your vocabulary. I would read 2 pages of it every day, and I built my English. Okay, so definitely you can develop it in just 2 months. Okay, not more than that. So the program cover basic part also. The first program, yes, but every program has got a prerequisite. So when you register for a program, we will send you the prerequisites. That is things that you need to prepare before you attend the program. So what I honestly would recommend is that if you already got a good basics, at least a basic of what binocular vision is all about, which is what we are going to do this Saturday. If you attend that session, then you will be able to grasp the next 2 sessions. Okay, but it is definitely worth attending the session. How do I clear a messed up internship? Okay, don't worry, we all make mess in life. That's how we grow in life, right? So don't worry if you have messed up. If you have messed up, now just take your journal and then write up what and all mess you have caused. Okay, and then think about potential solutions, or rather at least one simple thing that you can do right now to clear not the entire mess, but at least little bit of that mess. And I would highly recommend you take a mentor. Highly recommend that you sit with a mentor one on one, and I do a lot of one-on-one mentoring and coaching for our optometry school, kids. I should not call them kids. Optometry school graduates, undergraduates, and postgraduates. So you can actually do a sit with one-on-one mentoring or coaching with somebody senior, help them explore what you can do, but do it. I mean, there's, as I said, it's always it's never late. So after internship, your choices of clinic and post graduation, indeed clinical experience is important. At the same time, doesn't spending in this profession delay higher education? No, Partha. It's up to what you really want to do. Basically, if your goal is to become a researcher, full time researcher, like researching. Again, research has clinical research, has experimental research, basic science research, or hardcore animal research. What you really want to explore, it's completely up to you, your goal, your vision. For example, I want to be I can at least talk for myself, right? So I want to be a clinician. I want, because that's where I derive my happiness from. But I wanted to understand some of these conditions in a much more deeper manner. So what I did is, I did almost, like, I think 3 years of after internship, I did 2.5 years of practice, 3 years of practice, and then I enrolled into my masters, and then I did my PhD. And that clinical experience helped me so much in doing my masters, because my masters was in a clinical area. My master's research was in a clinical area. Clinical experience never goes waste. It's always very valuable, because it will help you to understand the research findings with a much more deeper perspective. So it's definitely, you're not wasting time. You are actually investing time in building up your foundational skills. See, but it's completely up to you. If you want to do hardcore research and experimental research, then maybe gaining that clinical experience is not worth the time for you. So it's up to you to, it's up to you to really work on that. Okay. Not spending time on skill enhancement and continuous learning. Yeah, because if you just you become a, many of us do this mistake, right? After optometry school, we join a we become an optometrist, and then we just keep practicing without even knowing what are the current updates, what should we actually do, how should we enhance our skill set, what are the CME programs that we need to attend, how should I upgrade myself. We don't think about it, right? And that is when you reach the top of that S curve, and you lose all your interest. Okay, so that is what I meant by not spending time on enhancing your skill set, or looking at your niche, your specialty, your specializing in something. But continuous learning in healthcare or any other field for that matter, I think, is very, very important. So don't ignore that. How to ignore our negative emotion and be kind at the moment of being out? That is, um, that's actually a very good question. Okay, so it's not about ignoring, it's about being aware. Basically, nobody wants us to ignore that fear, nobody wants us to ignore that negative emotion. So when I was preparing the presentation, I was thinking, my monkey mind was telling me, will my optometry community, I'm being very honest with you guys, will my optometry community take this presentation in a positive way, or will they think that, oh, Rizwana is not a motivational speaker, or why is she venturing into this? But I had to conquer my fear, and I said, this is what I'm passionate about. The worst thing that can happen is I might fail, but that's okay. I'm going to learn something out of this failure. And that is how I ventured into doing this sort of a presentation. So I don't think it's about ignoring that feeling. It's about sitting with that feeling, as Dr. Edith did. She did not forget that her parents were burnt in front of her eyes. She went back to that same place, and she embraced the pain. It's about embracing that pain, and then being aware that my emotions are not in the right direction. It's sort of, going a little this way, that way, but let me sit through with this with kindness. I think that is what is more important. Uh, let me not, uh, badge me as a good person or a bad person. No, you are always a good person. But it's about, why did this emotion, where did this emotion come from? Where is it stemming from? Is it because I'm not cleared myself? Is it because there's something sitting deep within which I have not healed? It's about thinking all those things. Somebody wants to get me as a mentor. Okay. Okay, so you can write to me, Chitas. I will just see what best I can do. So just email me. One-to-one mentor is available and affordable for all. I know mentors are busy. I totally agree with somebody. Yeah, they are busy. See, for example, the two mentors I showed, they were very busy. But it's about, I'll tell you, the role of a mentee, the one who seeks mentoring, is very important. You're not supposed to sort of barge in the door and then say, I need your help right now. Can you help me? No, don't do that to any mentor for that matter. Mentors are very precious. Okay, you have to fix a mutually available time. That time could be tomorrow, could be 1 week from now, could be 10 days from now, but you need to fix up a time with them, and you need to prepare well in advance. If you're going with the problem statement, you need to prepare, because the mentor is not going to give you a solution. You are going to come up with the solution. The mentor is only going to ask you questions, and like how I did today, they're going to trigger your thoughts and help you take the decision for yourself. Nobody is going to tell you that do this, do this, do this, and you will go. No mentor will do this, actually. No mentor will handhold you, and that's not a true mentoring. Basically, a mentor is someone who is going to sort of let you explore your path, but they will be in the path, seeing you falling couple of times, seeing you failing, seeing you coming back with that hurt, and then telling what you learned, and then seeing you grow. Okay, that's what mentors do. And but you have to do all the background work. Some of the students would just expect the teacher to do everything for them. No. So if you do that background work, then even if the mentors are busy, they would be willing to support you, because they have seen you doing that background work, because they've seen that you put in so much hard work understanding your own self, doing that self mastery work. So they will definitely be able to help you. I'm so glad that I'm so glad that I've been able to sort of help you guys. And uh, and then I applied for masters. So you are in the right path, actually, Annie, because you asked this in an open forum. You are in the right path, basically. So because you have not stopped, you see, you just continue to explore, and that is a very valuable trait that you've got. But now what you need to do is to build your skill set and foundation, because you sort of, right after graduation, you went on to do fellowship, and then now you have applied for masters. So it's very important that you ask your own self, what are the skill sets that I need to develop, so that right after masters, that I will be a recognized expert in this field, and I will be able to teach my fellow students with utmost courage, or utmost confidence and competence. What should I do right now to develop that sort of a skill set? Don't do anything for the sake of doing. Okay, do with 100% heart. Okay, I think you are on the right track, Annie. There's no particular amount of time, Archana, to get clinical experience. I mean, it's up to you, because one of my friend wanted to, do clinical practice for 5 years, 6 years before she decided to do masters. One of my friend wanted to do for 8 years, 9 years before they wanted to do masters. Some of my colleagues jumped in right after undergrad. There is nothing. I mean, it's about what you really want to do. See, especially with women, I will tell you, there's always this fear that, people will lock us in marriage. So we want to sort of finish everything before they lock us in marriage. And then after marriage, we want to do before we have a child. And then there is so much class that comes along, for women especially, I should say. So I empathize with all of you. But don't worry. Think about the goal that you want to pursue, and then think about the steps. Think about, okay, now I want to pursue this. So what should I really do? And the answer will come through. And again, mentoring is really very, very important, and they will be able to guide you through. I don't know if I answered your question, Archana, but then each one of us are so unique. We have our own unique paths to travel. But I would highly recommend at least having a couple of years of experience, at least 1 year of experience before doing masters. I would recommend that, if given an option. How to overcome fear of failure in life? Don't overcome fear of failure. Of course, it's okay. I mean, that's how we come out of our comfort zone, right? but embracing the fear is important. So if you ask me, I have high amounts of, there's one more question that that's come in: what scares you the most? Okay, of course fear of failure scares me the most, because I am at a crossroads in my life where I want to explore new horizons. Okay, I want to try new things out right now, and I have the fear of failure. Truly speaking, I am thinking that, whether I will do my best, whether I will, sort of be able to give my best, and then whether people will recognize my work. I do have the fear of failure. I mean, all of us, when even my senior mentors, when I interact with them, all of us have that sort of fear when we sort of jump from the curve. When we jump from one curve to another, we do have the fear of failure for sure. But that's a good thing, I would say. But don't fear about the failure. What you need to really think through is, how do I learn through this failure? How do I learn through this experience of failure, and share it with the community, and share it. Because I took an interview of about 10 people about fail after I failed in one, in one exam. I can share that story later. I took interview of about 10 people about fear of failure. Okay, and then I looked at everything, and then I realized that I was so glad that I failed, because failure teaches you many things more than success. So don't think about beating that fear of failure. Be happy that you have decided to step out of comfort zone. When 90 percentage of the world's population is sitting inside the comfort zone, you were among the 10 percentage that decided to come out of the comfort zone. So be very happy for that, and just go out and explore. Okay, so I think we really had a very long lecture. Okay, you can find me at rizwan@senmail.org. You can find me in LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta, and just type in my name and you will find me, and then me. Okay, but more than anything, go and follow Netra Vidya page in Facebook, so that you will receive about all the practitioner series coming in. We're just starting with binocular vision, but we are proceeding with other specialities as well. Okay, and I'm so thankful, and I thank my entire team that is present with me here, the beautiful team that I have got, and this slide, which was a free PowerPoint template that I was able to download from Slides Carnival. So credits to them, and thank you guys.